Start up another. Oh, the shield has been broken. They'll even kill each other. Oh yeah, it might be a good idea to go after Onega. Not Onega, Vologda soon, if we can. Well, let's invest in infrastructure. Actually, that'll be a good one. Ostravna Polna Volga. I think that's where we're improving. That'll be a good place to start. How's Himmler doing? He's looking pretty thick. Maybe the Viking wants a mix between socialism and despotism. You can do that. Aren't you both neutral states? We aren't. We are not. Our wars against the numerous warlords of Russia provided us, aside from valuable territory and resources, important lessons in the battlefield. We have fought many battles in the field and force of West Russia, and our generals have certainly noticed mistakes in our tactics and what we can do to improve them. Therefore, General Lasalve will continue to contact the commanders of the army, discuss possible ways to improve our troops' command skills and tactics. Then, new programs shall begin for the military to learn and master the ways of the Russian Liberation Army. Should this succeed, we will have a much better shot at continuing the war for reunification of Russia. We're not. We were kind of... We've basically pissed off both sides, and so we're doing what we can to stay alive at this point. And try to better ourselves. Army development is going up quickly already. I think we'll do industrial equipment, just to get everything kind of going up. There we are. Industrial equipment. More factories. Beautiful. And then we really need to get working on... Bormann is taking out... Bormann is taking out Heydrich as well. It's Bormann versus Goring. We'll do higher pay for officers. The ROA is now completely loyal to us. Beautiful. Yeah, you guys can fuck off and not do that, please. We'll do an offensive line. I don't think we'll be able to take the state of Vologda. We might be able to take some more. My money on Bormann. Who is the least bad Nazi in the Civil War? Speer. Neutral no longer. Let's see if we have enough time to push through. We are ex-collaborators. Basically. With our army prepared, the time to strike has come. The warlord state of Vologda will be attacked by the full forces that Samara has to offer. Our troops and tanks have proven quite effective so far, and they will continue their advance to liberate Russian territory. Some might cry out for us to respect for territory's neutrality, yet such neutrality cannot exist while taking rightful Russian land. In fact, the small city-state of Kostroma, protected by its despotic allies surrounding it, shall not be spared either. Being full of wealth and Russian citizens, we shall enter the city as well when their protectors are gone for good. These two threats to us must be neutralized before we move to fight a bigger foe, the front. If we even have... Speaking of the front, they're pushing through pretty well. Wow. Damn it. This fucking auto assigner for these troops it's fucking retarded sometimes, I swear. Jesus. No, don't you fucking dare, you dumbasses. I'm sorry. This game knows how to trigger me to no end. Yep, Bormann is 1. Well, ALV, it looks like you're getting your pay. Okay, we're gonna have to Zerg rush, try to take as many VPs as possible. Dude, if they don't add a focus tree that makes Zhukov Napoleon who takes over the USSR, I'm going to freak. For base game, yeah, I can see that. We'll train 4 guys at a time. Arrgh! This game is fucking with me at this point. It really is. It's no longer. Go, go, go. If we can snake up and take Vologda, that'll give us the most points, I think. Will I play Rebel Angola? I might eventually one of these days, actually. Fuck. Take as many VP points on the way. Better artillery. Keep pushing. Their fucking offensive line is gone. God damn it. Go. Push! Push! Oh my god, we're gonna take their capital? Oh, we did! God damn! Okay, move in to take Kostroma. You take in to go take Kashima, take Semyonov. Where are we? We'll take it with Semyonov, I think. Mamma mia! Democracy has turned to Italia. There we go! We did it! Mouse stopped working the day after Christmas. How convenient. Ooh. Just think how horrible laughing calling's probably. Oh god, yeah. Let's silence their voices. With territories formerly belonging to Vologda and Kostroma liberated, we must find a way to effectively govern and pacify the lands we've conquered. The solution for this has been provided by some of our high-ranking officials and commanders. It's already being tested in other areas we've integrated. It's time to give a land to them. The government will distribute these unstable yet fertile and rich lands to officers and generals of the army, who will be responsible for pacifying these areas by force and will have some profit out of them. With this approach, everyone will be satisfied. Our government will stabilize these territories, our army will be earning profit, and have their own lands grow and settle. The people there will live without fearing of instability, raids, and attacks. We will all be happy. Any voice of discontent will be baseless, or so it will seem. Beautiful. So we'll core up. A lot of this stuff's coming up. Imagine doing a rebel Angola after South Africa's dead will be a mega Yunnan. God, yeah. We'll wait until we do that focused before we core Vologda. What are they? They've cored all this, I think, actually. Okay, let's check. They're trialing the government. They gotta do a fair bit of this. So yeah, we got time before they go after us. Just realized that Tino is basically just everyone became China after the Nazis run. Sorta. I could kind of see that. Let's go and seize wealth. Before the Russian Liberation Army arrived, Kostroma was well known for its neutrality. The city-state was stable and focused on trade, not only with Vologda and other Russian warlords, but even the Reich Commissariat Moscovian itself. This had a profound effect on the town, as earning from trade aid came there, which allowed Kostroma to become the rich and somewhat developed. Now that it has come under our control, we must use that to its full potential, and thus we will ensure that all of its wealth is confiscated and put to use for our own purposes. This could be a boost for the government of Samara, which will use it to improve the economy and redevelop the country as it heads for reunification. Okay, 140 days for that. We'll take that. I don't know if it's that worth it in hindsight, but whatever. Okay, we will... We'll train 5 at a time, actually. Pakistan has become independent. Sverdlovsk is falling apart, so it looks like Omsk is winning, boys. Slovakia's fallen. Let's go and mop up the rest. Before making our deadly strike against the front, it would be useful to have a good base to strike from, as well as additional resources and support in this large war. West Russia, despite all our attempts, is still home to several warlords that refuse to bow down to authority, usually adhering to insane ideologies and leaders. Whether that is the syncretists of the Mulatto Rossi movement, the theocrats of Gani, the Bashkir nationalists, or anyone else, these forces will have to be dealt with and subjugated to ensure that we have better chances against the front. When that is done, then the communists to the north will be the only hurdle stopping us from achieving dominance in West Russia. When if it comes down to it, will you kill Yazov? I'll have to, yeah. Because they don't want to kill us. You know, we'll just do some fighters. You know, the whole collaborating with the Germans thing, not exactly the best look. But yeah, more artillery. Because we're going to need a lot in the upcoming days. It probably won't come down to it, though, because Omsk is so fucking incompetent. At least how the AI handles it. That we can just fucking push in. We just fucking wait. Okay, we can go ahead. That's all been bypassed. Let's imprison Mulatto Rossi. Now that Berzniki has come under the fold of the KONR, we must secure control over it and end the ideological abomination that is Kazanbek's Mulatto Rossi movement. Our army and our police units will search these areas thoroughly to find and arrest every single politician and citizen sympathetic to the synchronists, for the support of the movement to be completely eradicated and to not have to worry about it again. Not only is it a failed system, but it goes against the beliefs and ideals of our own government. Furthermore, I will use the system we have tried and tested several times to govern the region and stability. The lands we've conquered will be seized and redistributed, We pretty much know this already. It's worked well, we'll go with it. We'll get rid of the last bits of fascism in our country. And we got... We'll put you there, soldier. They are exercising on our border. Kind of flexing on us a bit. We'll do civilian construction. Building some good industry. Driving a pole. We got some great industry going. Let's remind them that they are all Russians. As expected, our armies have reigned victorious over the Aryan Brotherhood and are working hard to pacify the region. Of course, we will make sure to comb the population of the area for any members and supporters of the Brotherhood, so the last thing we would want is for their absurd ideology to make a return. Additionally, we will follow the strategies we have implemented in other recently liberated lands. That means we will have to win the hearts and minds of the local population, as well as integrate the small economy and industry of permit to our own. Of course, to accelerate the integration officer, we will distribute the land to army officers that will help us in our endeavor. Yosef, what's worse than a Teuton is a Teuton simp. You shall return back to Earth just like your master. Exactly. That's Omsk. And we'll get to play that once we hit 900 subs. We'll experience that. But for now, we would be on the receiving end of that, and that's not something I want to do or be a part of. I'd rather not take a shovel to the fucking face, you know? Might just be me. Christian Democrats? Okay. Higher pay for loyal officers. Might want to do a recruitment campaign next. We'll wait for that other guy to be deployed, and then I think we got to start adding the, what am I thinking of? We'll do ROA imams. Our nation will gladly integrate the Bashkirs of the area we recently reconquered, as long as they are eager to cooperate. To convince them to do so, we will contact the imams who are loyal to KONR and our cause. Being closer to the liberated Bashkirs than we ever could be, they will become their figureheads. Under the leadership of the wise imams, they will be guided to follow the views and ideology of the chairman and the committee for a united and indivisible Russia. What are you drinking, boys? I'm drinking water. I don't know about you guys. Man, that's hydrating. Goddamn. Artillery. How's our production? We're still upgrading stuff. Oh, National Protection Army. Yunnan is at it. Those crazy rapscallions are doing it. Might do some... No, not resources. That's not... Now's not the time to do that. Better guns, though. This is a great time. It's always a good time for better guns. Indonesian War. Free Indonesia versus Indonesia. Okay. Okay. Now we got an old score to settle, boys. When the Germans invaded and the Soviet Union collapsed in the face of massive Wehrmacht, the committee had hoped the communist system, which had governed the country for over 2 decades, would be gone forever. That hope was crushed with the emergence of a front, which re-emerged as the leading communist resistance force. Despite the severe hit it took in the West-Russian War, still lives on in Arkhangelsk, a large area nearby. Having conquered large swaths of territory to the south of them, we must finish the job and invade the bastion of socialism, which we have fought against for so long, finally ending the reign of terror socialism brought in Russia. Well, there we are. And we'll do a recruitment drive coming up. Gotta check. How's the high morale for all this going? Adequate officers, high civilian morale, high military morale. We're doing great. Scavenge for loot. Loot, loot. Our poverty rate is still going down, which is not nice at all. But, what are you going to do, I guess? Old score to settle. Next, I guess we're doing the Winter War. Our Winter War. As our army moves north, we have come to realize that the weather has become worse. This is a logical assumption to make, and when the time comes for us to fight the front, we must be prepared to face a bitterly cold climate that can make the job easier for the defender. For that reason, it would be prudent for the ROA to prepare itself for winter combat, starting with production of specific equipment. This equipment will make combat, even in the most extreme environments, safer for our soldiers, and can significantly help our efforts to defeat the front once and for all. Jumpin' Jacks, why are you doing this to me now? I'm still recording, man. I'm recording. Warm up for the war? Actually, that's not a bad point. Well, let me the new guys assigned. Actually, I'll just go ahead and deploy all this whole line. Actually, I shouldn't have done that because we have actually. There we go. Production, how are we doing? Needed for upgrades. Only needed for upgrades. That's good. Sign. Artillery again. Reinforcements. Okay, that's where we're falling a bit behind now. But yeah, okay. Recruitment campaigns. We have an abundance of officers, and they're completely loyal to Sergei Bunyachenko. Beautiful. We got this shit, guys. We got it. Build more artillery. We got our winter war going. This one's for 1917. When the Bolsheviks won this civil war, which seemed like ages ago, little did they know who would come back to haunt them. Now isolated in a corner of northwest Russia, they could barely be considered a formidable opponent, especially against the strong forces of a Committee of National Liberation. In our quest to end communist tyranny over our lands, we must face an army, yet not a large army, yet not an indivisible one. Shall we make our moves carefully and win both the war on the battlefield and the support of the people, victory will be inevitable, and with that victory, West Russia will be ours. Thus, we must call for the people and their soldiers to fight for the motherland until the true Russian flag waves over our Arkhangelsk. Beautiful. I love it. I better do that offensive line now, while I'm here. And then we outnumber them troop-wise, I think. So fuck it, we'll do the sit-ups right now. Or jumping jacks right now. Oh, we got free civi factories, though. Let's work on some stuff first. Man, our industry is doing great right now, actually. We'll build up Samara's industrial base a fair bit. And then maybe after... infrastructure will be good. And then military factories. More guns for now. We'll adjust this and optimize it as we go along. But for now, jumping jacks. Pause. Alright, go. Okay, back to it. 16. 20. Alright, 25. There we go! And while I was away, they encircled one of our guys. Hold on there, buckaroo. Okay, there we go. We got that figured out. Alright, ready to go. Ready to operate. Try to encircle this guy. We can build some... get some new stuff going. What do we want to do, though? Agriculture methods. That's always not a bad one to do. Okay, surrounded this guy. See if we can encircle him. So far, so good. Oh, we got two guys. I don't even know how we got the second one, but we'll sign him there for now. The battle for Italia. Of course, we're fucking able to do that. Of course, VA goes Democratic, not during my game where I'm playing America. Of course, that's what happened. We'll try to move there, see if we can't... Nope. Okay. What is it with this fucking AI and getting itself encircled without me even doing anything? Oh, there goes... Oh, got her. Kutsk. Well, that's just not nice at all. Alright. Okay, we got the arsenal. Beautiful. Not the greatest for us now, but it weakens the front. Are we not building support equipment? We are not, actually. That's a pretty big oversight. Let's get building that then. Shit. You chill out there, partner. Yeah, taking out the front is easy. Only in death does duty end. We did it, boys. We won't bother with loot. Get to coring all that. Let's go and put the Reds to rest. Finally, the West Russian Revolutionary Front has been defeated. However, to ensure that these lands are properly governed and integrated into the Samara government, some measures similar to the ones we have already adopted will have to be carried out, albeit on a much larger scale. First, we'll have to root out any possible communist leaders and officers for the sake of safety and stability. Once that's been done, we will replicate the practice of distributing land to officers across conquered territories in northwest Russia. With their support, the army will begin intense counterinsurgency operations from there in order to pacify these areas from dangerous communist remnants and other bandits or partisans. This will have to be done if we ever want to see Russia under our direct control and continue our battle against the enemies of a nation. That works for me. Yeah, we got a notable insurgency of communist support, which we'll have to nip that while we can. Offensive line into Onega. Ireland went and crushed that. We'll see how long that ends up lasting. We'll do this. Moving on, private state enterprises. The economists of Samara understand that the economy of the front, following the footsteps of the Soviet Union implemented, is significantly different from the one that Samara's pursued throughout its existence. Many enterprises and organizations in the front's economy were actually owned by the government itself, which had created a state-planned economy. Of course, we are strongly opposed to such practices, and so this must be completely changed. All these enterprises, by the decree of government, shall be privatized to support their integration to the West Russian economy. Of course, for their help in defeating communists, many of our officers will be granted some of these businesses, to ensure their interests are aligned with the government's. There we go. And then we might as well form it, right, boys? The Provisional Commissariat of Western Russia. Yeah. From their starting position as despised collaborators holed up around Samara, the Russian Liberation Army, or ROA, has defeated every potential foe and united all of Western Russia. Little is known of the former collaborator army except for its leadership headed by General Lasalve. Rumors from the fleeing refugees detail one, General Bunyachenko is Laslove's second in command and his drive to maneuver the men of the ROA to revenge against the Bolsheviks and Germans alike. The Reich has not commented on the rise of a provisional commissariat of Western Russia. No one knows how long Bunyachenko and Lasalve's little empire will stand. But the rise of a militarized Russia on its doorstep is sure to become an unwelcome development for the Reich, should it continue attempts at national reunification. The anarchy is winding down, perhaps? Ooh, okay. Okay, this is neat. We can choose to invade Onega. We'll train up these guys. We're so strong on state that we almost commie. Almost. But we aren't. And that's what matters. Smuggling operations, not worried about that. Not worried about that either, so don't bother me about it. Do we want to request... Should we request negotiations, boys? I think we'll go ahead and we'll do this focus real quick. After a long and drawn-out struggle for our survival and our eventual expansion, we have finally achieved our first goal in the road for reunification. West Russia, a land once ruled by dozens of different warlords and fiefdoms, each adhering to their own ideology and beliefs, is not what it once was. The warlord era has ended, and in its place has arrived a victorious committee for the liberation of people of Russia. We stretched from Samara to Arkhangelsk and have asserted our full and direct control over these lands. Now the world will finally begin to see the KONR for what it truly is. The true Russian government. Under the stable rule of Chairman Lasalve, we are unified in our goal of restoring the nation's former glory, and there is nothing holding us back. The office of Andrei Andreevich Vlasov was incredibly barren. He had intentionally ordered the removal of most luxuries from his office and his living quarters 2 years prior in a vain attempt to stave off his ever-present guilt. The old marshal stood, looking out the window, a drink in hand. He couldn't remember the time, only knew that it was dark out. Midnight, maybe? 1? 2? Who cared? The night was the only time that Lasalve could be alone. Every waking hour of the day he had aides, officers, and administrators asking him the most mundane of questions, but lately he'd become disinterested in answering them, instead preoccupying himself with a reflection of his life's work. What was it if not the committee? And what have they really accomplished? At what cost? These were the questions that resounded in Vlasov's head day and night. And for the life of me, I can't figure out the answers, he mumbled to himself. He couldn't even remember if his alliance with the Nazis was one of pragmatic survival or the desire to see a Russia forged in his image. He barely had an image anymore. He continued to pace around the room, occasionally glancing up to the stoic portrait of himself that his aides insisted he keep in his office. A single word came to his mind. Legacy. What was to be his legacy? Lasalve had always thought about writing a book. After all, who else would tell a story the way it should be told? The Germans remember me as a traitor. The Russians remember me as worse. Those in the West barely even know who I am. He stated no one in particular. Realistically, no book would be coming. Lasalve knew he couldn't. After pacing some more, he sat, slumped in his desk chair, looking over his drink. It had become harder to resist the urges to refill the glass over and over with the premium vodka he had liberated for himself. He looked to his glass. It was now empty. What did he drink? When did he drink it? He couldn't remember. Glancing towards his desk, there were two items that came to his attention: the bottle and a service pistol. A brief idea crossed his mind, but common sense got the better of him. He decided to retire for the night, after a long, deep sigh. The curtain draws closer to the chairman's career. Followage. We'll do night vision. Actually, now is a great time to get working on our doctrine, which of course is going to be combined operations. We might just want to go ahead and go to war over this. Luxuries such as tea and coffee once rare commodities during the chaos of late 50s and early 60s, only available to those with both the money and connections that are out of reach for most of the population. However, as Russia stabilized, access to the global economy has drastically improved, and now once rare commodities are being imported in increasingly large amounts. Chocolate, fruits, foreign wines, and of course, coffee and tea. Now access to caffeinated beverages is no longer a luxury restricted to the privileged few, but increasingly common, if still pricey, drink of choice for many of our citizens. Are they a finished puppet? They are. Sort of. They're basically a buffer state. Between them and Russia, so they can hold on to their holdings. Well, shit, we might as well invade them. Uh-oh. Early this morning, General Andrei Lasalve, the founder of our movement, was found to have died peacefully in his sleep. In poor health for many years, Lasalve was well aware of his own mortality. In order to prevent disorder and confusion following this event, previously declared his favored successor in the so-called secret speech to the then committee's assembled officer corps. That successor had been informed of Lasalve's passing, and the continuity and transition procedures previously written by Lasalve's office have been put into effect. A complicated man, Lasalve leaves behind an equally complicated legacy of both collaboration as well as liberation. It is not clear of how his past actions will be remembered in the future years. Regardless of such future perceptions, however, the state he founded in the aftermath of the West Russian War provided us with the foundation necessary to achieve regional unification, and this should not and will not be forgotten. Lasalve's successor now faces the daunting task of not only strengthening our control over the region where many perceive us as illegitimate, but also preparing us for the conflicts to come as we pursue our ultimate goal of liberating all the people of Russia, from Europe to the Far East. We hope they rise to meet the challenge. General Bunyachenko assumes overall political authority. Died on Valentine's Day. Few men have contributed as much to the success of the Russian Liberation Army as Sergei Kuzmich Bunyachenko. A soldier of a Russian Red Army, since the age of 16, he saw combat in more fronts and battles than most, both in the Russian Civil War and the Second World War. He would be a leading commander in the Caucasus, yet would find difficulty in turning the tide of war. Back at home, Bukharin's regime found him the perfect scapegoat to blame the failures of the Red Army on, even if he was not the one to blame for the complete failure of the Soviet Union to defend itself. Soon, though, during a brave counterattack, his division would be encircled and he would be captured. Bunyachenko would remain in a penal colony separated from society until the infamous West Russian War. That was when he would request from the government that he was at the mercy of to join in the fight against the front and avenge the communists who he had harbored such hatred for. He would fight bravely on the side of Lasalve and the Russian Liberation Army until the ROA coalesced into its own warlord state in Samara. There he would play a key role in governing the region and raising a proper military. This would eventually earn him a high position in the government, becoming Minister of Defense. With the death of Lasalve, Bunyachenko has managed to rise in power in Samara. A militarist, Bunyachenko will not stop until the communists, and perhaps the Germans to the west as well, are dealt with. As head of a KONR, he is glad to use it as long as it serves his interests. However, should he deem the committee to be an effective organ, Bunyachenko might have no problem with assuming control. Well, we have... the death of Lasalve. Okay, so we got some stuff we got to focus on first, I'm noticing. Interesting. The death of Lasalve. Chairman Lasalve has died. Funerals are being prepared in the capital, and a national week of mourning has been declared throughout the nation. Even more important, however, is to assure the stability and orderliness of the transition. Our army, despite the triumph throughout Western Russia, is badly overstretched, vast amounts of territory being managed by the officers of dubious loyalty to the new chairman. Even more disquieting are the rumors of revolts against our rule. Communist remnants, ethnic nationalists, and other agitators are suspected of moving weapons around in preparation. We must be vigilant. The old man's iron will had given out not too long after the Western Russian unification. Aides had found Chairman Lasalve in his room after he had failed to wake up one morning. 3 days of mourning had been declared across the newly liberated lands. A few genuinely upset citizens had thronged the general's coffin. Lasalve had been admired by a few across Russia. His relentless drive to free Russia from communist menace had been admired by many. In the dark days of the Front War, areas liberated by the chairman and his men had been spared the brutal retribution killings of the Wehrmacht. During the dark decade that followed, he'd done as much as possible to shield the people of Samara from his former German backers. But the mourners were far outnumbered by a mass of stone-faced civilians. Whether secretly angry or entirely apathetic, General Bunyachenko could not tell. He knew that an overwhelming majority of citizens thought Lasalve was the lowest of low in all of Russian history. A pathetic dog of a German occupier that had held Russian troops in a fratricidal war to crush the resurgent Red Army. Soldiers with live ammunition had covered the funeral procession, lest rioters tried to smash the old chairman's coffin. Reading a hastily prepared speech, Bunyachenko felt out of his element, standing as he did in front of a sea of blank faces. He'd always wondered why the detestable Lasalve had lived day after day in hope of redemption. Now the wave of cold contempt threatened to drown KONR's new leader. Russia stood on the brink of unification for the first time in decades. A fact one could hardly imagine from the assembled citizens, too tired even for despair at the takeover of their land by the former German collaborators. Bunyachenko mumbled the last few words of a funeral oration. His officer colleagues led the applause. With one last look at Lasalve, the new leader of the liberated Western Russia marched off the podium. His wish to be alone for the rest of the day would go unfulfilled. Perhaps Lasalve would be missed. Well, if these guys train up as much as they can, they'll probably drop them. Alright. Push. See if we can't get some quick encirclements off. You move in there. Okay, shit. They reinforced Onega. While our successful unification of Western Russia and efforts and integration have done much to unite people under a common banner, fierce rivalries between the many regions of our nation still remain. While the era of armed warlordism may have ended, our people are finding new ways to set out these rivalries. One such method seems to be hockey. The recent game between the Gorky Tankers and the Kazan's Akbars has ended in chaos, following a narrow 4-2 victory for the Bars in the first game of the season. The people of Gorky refused to take the defeat lying down, kicking off a series of drunken demonstrations. The protest, which later led to rioting, involved an attempt to prevent the Akbars from returning to the hotel. The defacing of several locations across the city, with offensive slurs against Tatars, and many incidents of looting and vandalism. The damage following the event have totaled to a considerable sum, and many are concerned that it may have set a warning precedent for future games, especially as the hockey season begins in earnest. Well, it's better than them shooting each other. Let me just confirm. Yep, we're still at war with Finland. We'll see how long this will take. Pushing in pretty well thus far. The death of Lasalve, friends and enemies. Our suspicions were correct. The rabble is rising up against our rule in several sectors, claiming that our authority is non-legitimate. Only a strong communication blackout has managed to prevent the spread of civil disturbances to our biggest cities. This setback risks turning into a catastrophe, as several ROA units are mutinying against the new chairman. Contradictory reports that the soldiers simply asking for better pay and for an end to the wartime discipline, or that they refuse to serve the new chairman, makes it difficult to ascertain the scale of this problem. We must act quickly. A contingency plan to secure the capital must be put into effect. Traitors must be rooted out rapidly. Welcome back. We reunified Russia, but our power base is falling apart at the seams. We'll keep pushing for a little bit. We're also at war with Finland now. Let's try to take back Onega and all these territories. Sounds Russian to me. Yeah. There we go. We took out front line. Push these guys back. Push them back. Push, push, push. How much longer are you going to stream? I'm going to wrap it up soon. I might stream later in the day. Or later in the night, I guess. But for now, I'm doing cleanup duty. Figuratively and literally. So Connor wins the Civil War. I have a stream plan I didn't want to interfere. I'll be wrapping up. I'll have this part go for a little bit longer, and then I'll cut it out soon. I'll bounce. If you want to start now, I'll go ahead and host for you. I'll raid you. Coming up. There we go. We just killed a bunch of Finnish people. Fuck yeah. There's 2 people here. Hey, a raid is a raid, you know? 2 active people, I should say. Evgeny rose from the bed and gazed silently at Yulia, who was still asleep. He could feel a migraine coming already, and groaned softly as he went to the next room. Yulia laid his uniform out on a kitchen chair. He regarded it now in the eerie glow of a streetlight lamp streaming through the window. Evgeny was far from ideological. He fought the Red Army because they supported him and his wife, because of an anger born in him from his father's death in the German bombing runs, because there was nothing else. It was precisely for this lack of politics that he'd gone unpunished after Samaran's march into Arkhangelsk. Now he'd been drafted as a soldier of the ROA, pledged to fight Bolshevik and Tsarists to unite Russia. And despite his nonpartisan bent, he hated the Russian Liberation Army. He hated them for what heavy answers being. He hated them for being German bootlickers, fighting for Hitler against their Russian countrymen. Their progenitor, Andrei Lasalve, could barely be called a man. The hatred was locked inside him, and Evgeny had successfully concealed every ounce of it. So far. Now fate conspired to make him one of them. Anger gave way to sadness. What could he do? He needed to protect Yulia to make enough money so that they could one day have a family. If he had to choose between seeing her suffer and fighting for the Vlasovites, there was not really a choice. He thought of waking her before he left, as she had asked him to, but decided against it. He would do what he had to, for her. Evgeny made his way through the early morning chill, ready to report to the RA barracks. The traitor's badge was pinned to his sleeve. Another soldier for Russia. Our war support is not good. Our stability is horrible. Holy crap. Oh my god. That's not good, but the casualties are rising. Finns are dying. Get working on the micromanaging. Oh, god damn it. Well, we almost had it. Fuck. Chairman, the reports are much worse than they feared. Several villages and towns previously under communist control have risen up in revolt against the ROA. Also tensions brewing in ethnic minority areas. Many locals see the death of Lasalve as a sign of internal weakness within our government. This angry rabble may be more correct than it suspects, as our military position is failing in many districts. The death of Commander Lasalve has sparked a storm of rumors that has now descended upon both our soldiers and our officers. Some units refuse our orders, claiming that your position as chairman is illegitimate. Other garrisons have simply gone silent, failing to reply to our transmissions. All hope is not yet lost, Chairman. It is likely that much of confusion within our ranks can be dispelled by loyalist units. We can address discontent among our troops with minor reforms, such as increased pay or longer permissions, now that the War of Unifications are complete. As to the remaining mutineers, they will be crushed and their sponsors will be smoked out. We will make sense of the situation, but we must act quickly. Okay, we got a better front line going, so push in as hard as you can, boys. I'd crush there. Who are we fighting against? Finland. We've taken out Onega already. We just gotta push further. There we are. Beautiful. You got a good pocket going. See if we can't get working on crushing some guys, taking out armies. Peace. The officer committee has long decried the presence of extremist elements within the ROA. Now corrupt pro-Octan officers are making a case that Chairman Bunyachenko is inept to replace the esteemed Lasalve. Meanwhile, pro-democracy extremists within the officer corps argue for leniency against the rioting plebs. Unfortunately for his schemers, Bunyachenko has prepared himself. With a slight majority of officers favoring him, our faction can begin twisting the arm of the Democrats and form a super coalition to defeat Octan's group. Maybe I started the stream it. I'll do announcements first and get prepped in general. Alright. And then we got people coming back, so I can raid ya. For whatever reason that... Yes. Kill the Finns. King of Burgundian Spring or just more corruption? It was a different Mileti Zykov that entered Chairman Bunyachenko's office. The best of times, Zykov's manic energy and natural charisma made it easy to see how the former journalist had gathered such a following. In bad times, Zykov's steely determination explained how the long-suffering Democratic faction had weathered 10 years of abuse from various factions in Samara. Today, Zykov reminded Bunyachenko of seeing himself in a mirror. The former journalist did not walk into the office so much as he tumbled in, pushed around by the weight of the events. Zykov, good to see you. The Democratic activist began to speak, only for the chairman to cut him off. No, please, let me continue. Right now, a tidal wave of shit is threatening to wash away our progress. The Officers Committee believes that Octan is behind everything that's happening right now in the army and the liberated terrorists. You have 10 minutes to convince me that you've got nothing to do with rabble spreading havoc throughout the northern provinces. And why should I try to convince some puppet of the Officers Committee? I should go see them directly. Bunyachenko smiled a little. Something of Zykov's old bravado remained. The Officers Committee are useless, tired old men. On that, Octan and I agree. No, Zykov, you will argue your case with me. You're an eloquent fellow. If you convince me that you can be of use, perhaps you'll see some of your dreams realized. I'm in the new market for new, associates. Zykov's eyes shone a bit brighter. Or had it just been an illusion? The former journalist began to make his case as the chairman leaned back into his chair. Contacts throughout northern Russia could be convinced to help end revolts within the month. Let's see what's done within the week, Zykov. Now it's time for order. The revolters expected to face a Vita ROA. Now that the scenario no longer applies, we can no longer afford to be magnanimous. Revolters that agree to our offer will have to disarm and agree to settle areas of Russia devastated by years of conflict. This will show the Democrats within the ROA that we do care about the civilian population, and for those who refuse our clemency, it's only a matter of time before their ammunition and food runs out. Finland offers ceasefire. Now get the fuck out of here. Get out of here. Miss me with that crap. Damn, are we... We're running a deficit right now. Or we're running a surplus. Beautiful. Well, we'll invest that into our GDP. Yeah, we have nothing in the way of real civilian spending stuff, actually. Interesting. Shoot. Let's try to get some air superiority. We have these guys, which we'll try to restation in Plesetsk. There we go. Have them fight over here. Air superiority. There we go. We got green air. Which will have to help. To some degree. The village had been one of the last to be pacified. Communist partisans had resisted the ROA's siege at the bitter end, finally surrendering when the angry populace threatened to turn over the rebels themselves to end the blockade. The disarmed community came to see the executions. Many of the partisans had been spared, merely shunted off to war camps with promises that good behavior would see their families well rewarded. The officers and those judged too radical had been kept on death's row long enough for their fellow travelers on the other side to arrive. RA officers all, corrupt to the bone and kindling for rebellion to a man. One of the officers had not traveled far to meet his fate. Hours before recapturing the village, orders had come through the man's arrest. Citing his insubordination and corruption, the men from Bunyachenko's entourage had relieved the commander of his post and tossed him into a holding cell. None among the soldiers doubted his guilt. A astute few noted the disgraced officers tied to Oktan's faction. These were bad days for ambitious men within the Army of Liberation that did not bend the knee to officers' committee. Sedated by defeat and an extra set of emergency rations, the villagers crowded mutely around the execution grounds. The corrupt officers of the ROA died one by one, right next to the rebels that their idleness had unleashed. Soon all who threatened Chairman Bunyachenko's peace would be reduced to food for crows. Peaceful as a silent battlefield. Next, the ROA fights on. It was a near-run thing at the time, but we've beaten back the opposition. The aftermath is not pretty. Plenty of soldiers are dismayed to know that their comrades took up arms against the state. Former mutineers that have received pardons still eye our authority with contempt. And out there in the provinces, many civilians are now just understanding that our government came very close to being toppled. More resistance can be expected in the future from both disgruntled RA soldiers and officers, as well as civilians who loathe our government. No matter what, however, the RA fights on, strong and unbroken. That works for me. The ROA fights on. Oh, no, fuck. I didn't mean to do that. I did not mean to do that. That's fine, actually. You can move there. Yeah, Omsk is gonna win here. We got air superiority. We'll do close air support too. Help these guys out the best we can. Okay, our best move is to try to push in. Surround these guys. Are we going to march into Helsinki? That is the plan. Fuck, okay. That's the dream. By the end of the stream, we'll be marching on. We'll attack these guys. Nikolai's patrol circled back to the campfire. Little remained of it by the time of the day. Potions, points of light, soft in the evening's dusk. One of the other soldiers had put some potatoes to roast by the embers before going to sleep. The lighting had come and gone so rapidly, a startling nightmare after months of a campaign, soon dispelled by the once high command, had woken into chaos. Now mutinous soldiers and rebellious civilians alike had been dealt with. Discontent was once more forced to lurk in the shadows. The soldiers sat by the ashes and picked up one of the potatoes, still warm to the touch. Nikolai was grateful for the attention of his comrades. He ate in silence, rifle on his lap. Out in the valley below, most lights blinked out for the night. Electricity was still a rarity, and candles an important necessity in a now peaceful Russia. Perhaps peace would bring more light. The soldiers picked up the other potato and stood up. The embers glowed at him. So easily could the fire begin anew. Nikolai kicked the dirt over them and began to make his way back to the barracks. Hopefully no more revolts will ignite. So the ROA is ready for anything. We can get working on really whatever. I think all factions, even wholesome democracies, do ethnic cleansing when they win. Of Samara? Maybe. I think cutting the chaff is a great way to start. Oh no, all unifies during the Finnish War. Oh, okay. The conditions we found ourselves in during the liberation of West Russia sometimes necessitated a certain lowering of our standards. Many of our conscripts were, to lack a better word, suboptimal, whether of subordinate quality or insufficient loyalty to our correct faction. Elements of our forces cannot be trusted to maintain the honor, obedience, and fighting spirit that will bring us to victory in our future challenges. To put it another way, we are long overdue for a purge. Soldiers unable to meet tests of physical fitness or allegiance will be cast out of the army, with jail time for the most serious cases of possible treason. While the diminishing of our numbers always hurts, we are better off in the long run with a loyal and effective fighting force. Yeah. Works for me. We're pushing in very easily right now. Not so easily now, actually. But what are you gonna do? I'm gonna side. We're gonna. We'll do 2 more national focuses. Or we'll end the war. Whatever comes first, that's going to end the stream. That's not working. Shit. How are the new troops coming along? They'll be deploying soon. We'll just deploy them now, actually. Fuck it. Get them assigned. We'll let the new guys get moving. Yeah, get building as much artillery as you can. Yeah, just about a full army. More or less at 20 wits. How's our air superior hold? It's holding still. Let's get pushing. See what we can't do. These guys are pushing, are falling. Okay, we're having some success. Now I'll get effects of Katrina Kostroma. Let's put bread on the table. The establishment of Muscovy cut a sizable quantity of Russia's arable land away from its free population. This, combined with the breakdown of the trade within the territory of the former Soviet Union has made food security endemic. We were lucky to possess at least some of the remaining arable land during our stay in Samara. Now that we control all of western Siberia, many of our territories have spent a decade teetering on the brink of famine. Chief among them are lands of a fallen front, near Arkhangelsk. And in the longer term, we can expect shifts in population as regions in the south of our nation see internal migration. In the meantime, we must tend to the matter of food security. Ensuring stable access to basic staples such as bread will do much to legitimize our state among our newer subjects. Yeah, okay. We keep pushing against these guys. That will go at. Oop, we lost a big round there. Well, should move in there. Come on, Jesus. Fuck, okay. We couldn't do that. No, we'll do one more focus. Fuck it. A chicken in every pot. We've ensured staple goods are available in every corner of our nation. Now that our fledgling economy is spanning new, we can dream of more ambitious goals. Meat has been incredibly rare since the fall of the Soviet Union. As the grape has grown, it becomes possible to turn part of it into feed for chicken and pigs. Raising a quantity of animal proteins available to our state will improve the rations of our soldiers, as well as make meat much cheaper for Russian families. No longer we're merely surviving. The men and women of Russia will turn towards the future, and their stomachs filled with nourishing food. Recruit deployment. To cut these guys, we need the manpower. How is it going so far? 56 versus 73,000. We're still winning. We have no chance on a one-on-one with a real nation with research. Probably not. I like how you're implying that Finland is not a real nation. Oh, Nega, come on. You gotta do better than that. You gotta do better than that. Come on. Take a Chemi. No, you stay there, actually. See if we can't push in through there. Get that going. Like, I should have stopped a while ago. This one part is going to be pretty fucking long. We'll do industrial policy. With our state sitting on solid ground, it's time to give some thought to industry. Of course, business is booming in the private sector of the economy, freed from German bombings and from the sclerotic economy of Bolsheviks. Russian on-working ingenuity has been set free. It does not mean, however, that the private sector will be left free to run entirely unrestricted. Several important sectors of the economy, such as weapons development and energy production, could do as well as either state-run government businesses or private-run partnerships. Government presence in the industry would also be a useful area to store political allies. As such, the upcoming conference will determine our nation's industrial policy. We're building up a solid surplus, which will keep investing in the economy. Because we don't have pensions, we don't have anything to put money towards, so our civilian spending is non-existent. Ooh, okay. Try to do that. Brilliant. Italy joins the OFN, okay. That guy's encircled. The Committee for National Industrial Development did not adequately convey the scope of Chairman Bunyachenko's ambitions. To the assembled industrialists, RA logistics officers, and technocrats of all stripes, Bunyachenko brought forward two objectives as well as a time frame: Russian Union world-class industry, both before the end of a decade. The Bunyachenko of times past might have been cowed momentarily by the wave of opposition in the room. The new chairman, however, silenced feverish complaints that such a project cannot be realized. The Japanese not carved an empire of steel in Manchuria, where once only dusty steppes could be found, had not the damned Bukharinus developed the Central Siberian heavy industry in such a time span? Combining a modern central financial system and interlocking shareholders, a select set of industrialist concerns would be expanded horizontally and vertically into the economic juggernaut dubbed combinats. The presence of allies in the government and key financial institutions would be used to feed loyal businesses and prevent hostile takeover by national or international rivals. In preparation for liberation of Russia, military supplying contracts would provide initial fuel for the rise of these combinats. Bunyachenko's speech concluded. The chairman stood and answered questions. Invited industrials bombarded him with questions and concerns initially. In time, however, suggestions and ideas began outweighing negativity. Here was the opportunity for a century of a new, ambitious man in the room. Okay. I've said I was going to stop many times already. I should probably stop now. I'll go out, take a walk. Enjoy the day while I can. It's supposed to snow this weekend, so I want to get out. I got a target to raid. Alright. Just let me know. So yeah, I'll end this video.